Hey everyone, I really promise I don't want to make this a eulogy channel, but if you're watching this when it goes live, last week we lost the pianist, composer, arranger, educator Jim McNeely, who I had the great fortune of studying with for a year, and he marked so many students and other composers, other musicians. I'm not really going to go into, again, this isn't about an overview of his work, but more about how studying with Jim and working with Jim affected me. And more broadly, I want to talk about the power of mentorship. I guess I'll start by talking about my relationship to Jim's music. Really it goes back to when I was 15, and the first grown-up real big band charts I ever played were Bob Brookmeyer's ABC Blues and First Love Song. First Love Song particularly is a massive feature for Jim on the original recording with the Mel Lewis Orchestra. And just hearing that at the age of 15 blew my mind, absolutely blew my mind. I had never heard anything like it. And at that age, I didn't think I would ever meet Jim or get to study with him. And then fast forward a few years later, and I wound up studying at the BMI Jazz Composers Workshop that was run by Jim, Michael Abeni, and Mike Holober at the time. This is 2006. And just getting to watch Jim conduct a band, getting Jim to go through my writing, watching him sight read other people's sketches, and his ability to just immediately perceive what a piece wanted to be and needed to be, whether as a conductor or as a composer, arranger, educator. I never recall him saying anything was wrong, not to do this, not to do that, whatever. But he could look at a piece and he knew exactly how to coax the best performance of it out of a band. He knew exactly how to modify and revise a piece to get the best effect out of the band. He knew what the players wanted to see and how to get the musical effect that you were going for as a composer or arranger, and how to get the band to actually do it. And how I arrived at the BMI workshop was directly through my own mentor, the pianist and composer Jeff Johnston, here at McGill University in my bachelor's. And I was bringing in a huge diversity of music to Jeff in my lessons in my last year of my undergrad. Everything from Brazilian pop music to Scriabin to Paul Bley to Andrew Hill. And Jeff at one point just said to me, you should look up this guy Darcy James Argue. And at the time, Darcy had just started his own big band Secret Society, and he had his own blog where he was posting bootlegs of the Secret Society shows, but then also writing posts about the scene in Brooklyn, blogs of the early 2000s, right? Posting about his own artistic process. At the time, he was also involved in another composers collective, that the name of which escapes me right now. Darcy, if you're watching this, please fill that in. It was the collective he had alongside Joseph C. Phillips and many other kind of chamber music composers of the mid-2000s in New York. Anyway, so I became a fan of Darcy's music. I became a fan of Secret Society. And Darcy has a piece called Transit that he wrote in tribute to the weekly Chinatown bus trips he would take between Boston and New York to attend the BMI Jazz Composers Workshop. And so Darcy's piece Transit and Darcy's writing about how the BMI workshop affected him so much, that put the BMI workshop on my own radar. And to be totally honest, Darcy's career path became something I wanted to emulate. Someone who was from Canada, and had studied at McGill, and then moved to the States, first to Boston to study at NEC for his master's, and then used the BMI workshop as a springboard to eventually move to New York and pursue his large ensemble composition in New York City. And I definitely, my goal when I was 20 was to emulate that path. Obviously, I could never and will never write like Darcy writes. It wasn't about copying his sound, but it was about emulating his goals and his artistic path, his career path. Obviously, our career paths have greatly diverged in the past 20 years. And I used those trips to New York, in addition to studying with Jim McNeely and Michael Lebene and Mike Holober. I was privileged enough to be in New York in 2006, so I got to see the very end of Tonic. I got to see the original location of the Stone. I got to go to the original New Blue and catch the residency of Foro in the Dark on Wednesdays. I got to see a bunch of the same guys from Foro in the Dark play on Mondays at Cafe Wa. I got to go to jam sessions at Smoke, at Cleopatra's Needle, kind of like classic mid-2000s New York, Manhattan, I should say. I wasn't really involved in the Brooklyn scene quite so much. And all of that goes back to Jeff Johnston just saying to me, you should check out this guy, Darcy James Argue. It was just a single phrase, a single recommendation from a mentor that changed everything for me. And there's things I got from the lessons with Jim that I still cling to 20 years later. There's things I've gotten from hanging out with Darcy and from listening to Darcy's music that I still cling to 20 years later. And so this video is really just to underline how powerful a single recommendation and a single piece of wisdom from a mentor can unlock your entire career, can change your entire life and our artistic path. So thank you, Jim. Thank you, Darcy. Thank you, Jeff. If you haven't, I would absolutely recommend that you purchase the archive of the Celebrating Jim McNeely concert that was on September 10th at the Dimena Center. You can purchase the tickets through Jazz Composers Present. I'll leave a link in the description. I'm not affiliated with Jazz Composers Present. I just have a lot of friends and colleagues who are involved. And obviously I'm a fan of Jim McNeely, the late Jim McNeely. I will link some other beautiful remembrances of Jim in the description too. But cherish your mentors, cherish your heroes, and I'll see you in the next video. Peace.